We're online. We're live.
Mhm.
What time? I can't answer that question right now. That's like okay. Let's see. Are we online? Yeah, we're online. Hello, everybody. Sorry about but brain fog and all that stuff. We'll be right back. We'll let everybody get a little time to come in. We got Cathleena Hailley here for the second time. It's going to be a great conversation. She's very cool, very down to earth, and we'll jump into it in just a minute. We'll be right back. How's it going, everybody? It's our first Soul Speak 5D episode of the week because we had the Monday morning show. And we got Cathleena Hailley in the house, Asheville, North Carolina. Just got back from the what was it called? Camp Disclosure?
Yeah, Camp Disclosure.
I'm surprised. So y'all didn't get any, the organizers didn't get any, have any issues with quarantine, social distancing? I mean, did they get any heat on them?
Yeah, well, apparently, I guess the original venue, they wouldn't let him do it, and so a guy next door let him do it. And they had to put signs up that said masks here and there, but we were doing our thing. It was outside.
I can't imagine that people would have followed it. Were there very many people wearing masks?
No, no.
Really? And how many people would you say were there on average?
I think there was about 100, maybe 100, a little bit more than that, 150. It wasn't a big crowd. It was outside. So, I mean, there's no reason to me, especially to wear masks outside. So
I don't know, man. Morgan just showed me a video in Melbourne.
Yeah.
These two older ladies are sitting on a park bench talking, and 5 cops came up to them and threatened to arrest them and took their phone.
Yeah, it's crazy. I know. I don't understand all that. It's,
Well, that show with Lori Ladd yesterday, which was just, did you get to watch that? Did you watch that?
I did. I watched that, and I was listening to her, and I really, I resonate with pretty much everything she was saying. Yeah. I have a little bit different, take on a couple things, but yeah, I mean, very amazing. Definitely get what's going on right now. A lot happening. And
yeah, but like in the context of her, the way she's received it, these things got to come up, be felt.
Yeah.
So which makes sense because that's what we've all had to do in our own situation.
Absolutely.
With our personal experience.
Yeah.
So it's not like go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, the way that I feel, and I totally get that, is that, I see everything about frequency and about attaching. So she talks about alchemizing it. And the way I feel about alchemizing it is that it matches it. And so if you have, say you have fear within you that's inside of you, and you come near somebody that has fear, it's going to elevate that amount that's inside of you. But if you don't have any that's within you, you're going to experience it, but it's not going to be inside of you. And so this is kind of why this stuff has to come up, is because it has to detach basically from us, from right inside of us, so that it can move away. And that's the truth. You can't act like it's not there if it's in you. Because you talked about your stuff. I had a situation yesterday, talking about the mass, where I went inside. It was like a park place, and one of these on the Blue Ridge Parkway, where you go in and just check out some stuff. And I went in originally just to use the bathroom. I didn't have a mask on, went back out, and then walked back in to kind of look around. And I had a bandana, but I only had it like across my mouth. And it was funny because I walked upstairs and I saw a woman there, and she had an unusual one. It was smaller, and I guess it was kind of over her nose, whatever. And honestly, at the time, I looked at her and I thought, oh, okay, well, she's kind of like me. But I was on the wrong wavelength, because a few minutes later she comes over, she goes, "You got to put that up." And I was like, oh. And I felt that energy, and I didn't enjoy it at first, and I ended up just leaving, because I thought, well, but I knew I brought that on, because I had a little bit of fear energy when I walked in, just kind of that.
You did?
Everybody was wearing it. Yeah, and I don't normally, right? But it's true. If you carry that fear at all, it's going to be right there in front of you. So.
I mean, it's so weird because, and that's what really kind of upset me. You might have heard me say it, but so I went back a couple of days ago after that thing that happened with that guy in Walgreens, and I was walking in and I got irritated with myself because I was complying.
Yeah.
It was hurting my soul, I mean, I can't even breathe when I had to like hold it like that, because it just makes me feel like I'm being suffocated. But yeah, so I don't know. It's like there seems to be always these fluctuations, like a pendulum. It goes back and forth. The rhythms of all of our experiences. Sometimes those swings are years and months and weeks and hours and minutes or whatever. But yeah, I do see that. I enjoyed talking to her yesterday because something was going on. Like I felt. I was going to have a Todd weekend, not do anything, because I was exhausted. And then I just happened to hit her up, and then boom. And then I look at the lineup for this week. I'm like, oh, I can tell. Like, we don't plan it. It just happens. I saw you, 2 or 3 other people in the first couple of days. I'm like, okay, we're on to something. It's just moving so fast.
There's so much happening. And it's all about really ushering in this 5D. And so you got one side, one timeline where all this stuff's coming up, and it has to come up, because I agree that we have to kind of transmute all this together. These individuals have this idea that there's this us and them and this reptilian, all that's not true. So I totally get that. And I agree with that. We have to move it in. And so what I'm feeling is getting to that neutrality. I think it's super important to be in the absolute present moment without judgment. Yeah. And the hardest part without judgment is yourself, because whether or not you decide to put on a mask or don't put on a mask, it doesn't have anything to do with that. It has to do with the judgment around it. How do you feel? What's happening to you in relationship to it? Yeah. And to me, right now, what I'm feeling is time's moving super crazy fast. Right. And soul families are coming up, like meeting you and all the things. It's synergistic, just like this. Yeah. It's because we're moving towards creating, real families, real connection, real communities, the step up from what we've been attempting to do in the last, let's say, like even over the last 10 years. I've seen people moving towards these directions, but not really what's happening now. Now it's like, to me, you have to make an absolute commitment that says, I'm completely unplugging from this 3D matrix. Yeah. Doesn't mean I'm not having a 3D life. It means once you've made that commitment, I'm done with that. It's like an energy shift happens. And suddenly that's when, your stuff will come up, all your crap comes up, but all the synergistic stuff comes forward. And to me, like the mantra is, I'm not afraid. And just like, I want to live life and just take a breath and let go and just allow. Like I was saying to you in the beginning of the show, that I'm in a situation now, and my lease is about to end, and I keep feeling like, okay, I think this area is okay for a period of time, but not necessarily this particular place I'm living in. But I have no idea where I'm going, but I keep feeling like I'm not supposed to stay here, but I don't know yet. And I think that's what happens is it's going to be instantaneous, and you just go with it. And so I may have literally a week, but everything will come together.
Yeah.
Right. And that's this 5D. It's like things just happen. But think about that. If you're a little kid and, because it's really like being a little kid on the earth, if you're a little kid and you're just experiencing stuff, there's no plan, right? You just,
that's why I was saying to her and some other people, I don't know how I'm going to schedule.
Yeah.
Like, what's going to happen? Are we going to wake up? I mean, it was, I think the trajectory towards that was what occurred with her.
Right.
I just happened to see the video. We've had a show together. Yeah. We've messaged a couple times, probably like you and me, just a couple times. But there was like as soon as I woke up and because I had seen it the night before, you could tell something was happening. Like you could tell there was like, she got lit, I got lit. Yeah. Before the show, it was like kind of like we just did, like it was.
Yeah, exactly.
So so how does that going to work, Well, and I agree with you too. I think because it is a consciousness factor. Everything else is just a result of the consciousness. But does that mean that we step away? Like I'm not submitting I didn't submit for whatever COVID relief check or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I just feel like there's something to be said for not participating on an active basis, like ordinances and codes and laws and regulations and stuff. I wanted to get a fishing license the other day, and I stood there at the counter. I was like, damn, I can't do it. I just can't do it. I'm like, it's a fishing license. I'm like, I want to go fishing. And and it just like hurt my soul. And I was like, I just can't do it. I'm not going to get one. So I'm still not fishing, but maybe I'll go get it. I don't know. But I agree with you. I think it's here first, obviously.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, all the things that have been happening to me, when I think about consciousness, I think about consciousness as information. And that's what we are, which is just all information, connecting with other information. And so when we can realize that and just allow for our true self just to kind of reach out, imagine it's reaching out and it's going to connect, it's connecting different things. And that's what's been happening to me. I mean, the whole thing like with Z, from beginning, even I just happened to come across her when the first COVID happened and saw that she had that energetic, vaccine, online, and I felt this connection. I knew, and then researched her and realized she's from Andromeda, and I have an Andromedan background. I knew there was a synergy totally in our relationship there, and so there was a connection, and then it was interesting because she got the download of this whole new ley line coming in, and I didn't get it in that language exactly, but I knew, and I've been working a lot with the grid systems and working a lot with kind of anchoring in some things with the earth. And so she ended up in Shasta, and then 3 days later or whatever, 4 days later, I ended up in Shasta. I had no plans to be there. And so I ended up there, and I ended up doing some ceremonies there. And then, of course, I wasn't supposed to be at Camp Disclosure. I had known about it, but I went to pay for it, and they were already had the limit of people because of the COVID. So I wasn't supposed to be there at all. So I only signed up for a little small portion. And then it ended up, though, I was completely there the whole time. I ended up working on a bunch of people, ended up connecting. And so that's how it works, right? You just end up. And I ended up at this biodome with Z at the ceremony of the anchoring in. So the last piece of this ley line. So I was so we're following each other without even knowing it. That's the point, Wow. Right.
That's how it works, though.
That's how it works. That's exactly how it works. Really when you just go with it, right?
Yeah, it's like the forcing, and I hate to use that word because it's not like, but if you think about it, even a schedule is forcing, framing. You
Yeah.
know,
Right.
it just it doesn't. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
not. What were they talking about this morning? Michael was saying that the human body was cannot repress. As time goes on, it's not going to. It just doesn't have the capacity to repress things. So
Mm-hmm.
by the same token, like it's almost. It feels to me like it just doesn't work. We're starting to put these square pegs into round holes, and they're just not working.
It's very true.
And it's like, okay, well, how does a 5D business look? What does it look like? How do
Mm-hmm.
you schedule something? I've got another friend. You might have seen him around, Lawrence Wendell, who's
Mm-hmm.
who's who's the epitome of gypsy, right? I mean, he's really see he threw away his driver's license, took his license plates off his car, put a sign on the top in downtown Denver, free, and started giving people free rides. Got arrested numerous times. He went through this whole story. His shows that we've done together are great. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, I forgot why I brought him up. I can't even remember now.
It's about, being free and
You know. Well, I guess the point I was making is he's disengaged.
yeah.
All the way. I mean, all the way. This guy wanted to cross the Canadian border. So he's on a bus, or there is a bus. There's a line with the cop, I guess, checking everybody's stuff, and he just walks by. And he says, sometimes I get stopped. And if I get stopped, that spirit just telling me you can't. I mean, he's really serious about it. But I wonder how that's going to go for everybody else. Like, or is the system's just going to crash, period? And I don't know.
Yeah. Well, when I think about not engaging in this 3D, I'm more referring to initially just the 3D matrix aspect, which is, that whole mind control. It's really more of how it's interacting in your mind. It's keeping you in a place of fear of what could happen. And so I think if we disengage from that, so we don't have in our head, if I do this, this will happen. Yeah. If we can just begin to be in the moment, then we're guided, and we still will interact with a lot of the stuff that's here, but it'll be a different interaction. And, and I think that there'll be a progression towards what we can create, in now, whether it's businesses or, how people are interacting, whatever. Because we're already seeing that, where individuals are doing like farmers markets and different things like that, or people are just, they're doing things that they can do.
Yeah, people like Z and what's her husband?
Brian.
I was going to say Brian. Yeah, well, and I think that the thing about creating things and creativity.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it used to be like problem, solution, but now we're getting to this point where like, there's really not a problem, so there's not a solution. That's not a problem that we schedule stuff. We're creating this undue stress, like time does, linear time does, and so on. So it's more like that all gets erased and wiped away, and you wake up as the creative being you are, and you just do like you said about the kid.
Yeah.
He goes out on the playground and he starts playing with stuff.
Yeah.
If he doesn't like a particular thing, he doesn't do it.
Right. It's well, we haven't known how to actually live life. I mean, it's taken a long time to actually feel, to get to the point that you feel that feeling of in love without actually having a partner being in love. I mean, that's the idea, no matter what's going on in the world, that happy feeling. And you can feel that when you get very present and you can, not have judgment. That's the key. It's really just when you don't care, and then I don't mean don't care in a negative way, but when you're really like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether I have this, I have that, whatever. Nothing owns you, nothing's tied to you. There's no control mechanism on you. Then you can freely decide how you want to move next and what what ways in which you want to create, want to move within the world. And this feels really important, when you talk about from an energetic perspective, this whole reptilian consciousness, it does have like access points within your physical body that it can enter into, and some are very almost pinhole points, and they occur in relationship to whatever your belief system is. So if you have,
absolutely.
Yeah. So if you have any avenue of fear, and they can sneak in, and then what happens is they expand, and they literally enter your body. I mean, I've had many times where I'm literally, and cough out these energies, and you can feel it.
Absolutely. And that was very common 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, and she talked about that.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting. So she said, now this was in the video, video that motivated me to contact her. Yeah. So she says that, and of course, you almost don't want to use the word reptilian. It's a fourth dimensional.
Just a fourth dimensional consciousness. Yeah.
It's a fourth dimensional consciousness that cannot physically incarnate here.
Right.
And also, just like the archons, which goes back to the Nag Hammadi and other evidence, thousands of years old, they can't create anything.
Yes,
they can't manifest anything. They can't manifest in the third dimension, and they can't create anything in the third dimension. And that's what she said in that video. She said, so they actually enter the vehicle,
Yeah.
And then she talked about some really interesting stuff in that regard. But and this kind of goes along with what Franco Di Nicola talks about, and a few other people. They all just have different ways of explaining it, which is, like in her case, 90% of that has been pulled out through the help of the Galactic Federation, whatever we want to call it, our aspects or whatever. And that 10% left falls in line with what Franco talks about, which is the inverted matrix is turned off. There's not a primary projector anymore, but the program's still running within ourselves.
Yeah.
Right. So the consciousness shift, is predicated on the work that we do. I mean, it's
right.
Yeah.
Well, that's why it's so important that we get to that neutrality without judgment, because once you're there, you're really unplugged from that. And you have to keep releasing out like any mechanism fear. It's also really important to own your own brain, and I always clear mind channels. We have 3 mind channels, and it's important to actually clear them, because we have the closest one, there's one that's closest in distance, I guess, which would be the one attaching to the grid system. And that's the one that can be interfered the most. And, you ever have where you're just walking along and random thoughts get flying into your head? It's literally that they're being put there.
Oh,
and if there's anything for it to attach to, then that's kind of the access point also of this fourth dimensional energy to infiltrate, so to speak, and express and get that larger. So it's really important that you begin to pay attention to that and not just let random thoughts go through your head. And more importantly, how is that making you feel? What's happening to you when that random thought's there? And this is something that's really important. I think individuals aren't paying attention to. They're just allowing all these random thoughts to just keep penetrating and doing whatever, and, walking around like not even noticing. And so that's extremely important. You take charge of your head. I always say you got to think about your head like your house, where you wouldn't let anybody come in your home and kick your dog and do whatever, but look at the crap you let in your head and what it's doing to yourself, right? So, I mean, that's pretty simple.
Yeah. Well, because, I mean, what's the difference between external is external?
Yeah.
So, whether it's a non-physical energy like a thought, or it's the big bully down the street, what's the difference? There's, it's still, like you said, what did you say? What was that comment? You said, what is it here? Yeah. Own your own brain. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's really it. And that's the thing too. Like, I think we had a show fall through last week, and I did a little solo thing, and Shanine came on with me. Shanine Moulin came on with me, and that's what was on my mind. It's like, hey, and even some of the stuff I wrote last week, it was like, this is a consciousness shift. And again, it's like the thing with the schedule and the disengaging from the machinations of the 3D, right? It's the same type of thing. It's like if we do it here, everything will happen out there. We don't have to go march or boycott. We don't have to do any of that stuff. It will actually occur, but that decision has to be made here. And it's probably the same answer. At least that's what it feels like to me. It's probably the same path as teleportation or true bilocation, or whatever. Just simply there's a filter or there's something there, a veil that's only up there because of our belief system.
Right.
So it doesn't matter if it's like, do you believe you got to wear a mask? Do you believe COVID's a threat? Do you believe you can teleport? Do you believe, you can go to Venus for dinner with your friend Cathleena? It's just simply a matter of, there's got to be some progress on this too. And I want to ask you,
sure.
Especially this, God, it's only the 7th of September. I don't know why this date feels so big to me. I don't know why. I got this morning thinking this is an important day, but so this weekend, I kept seeing things in my peripheral, like shadows and prism of light, and then I'm sitting there just chilling out on Saturday, totally vegging out, and this big bang occurs, and Morgan was down in the garage downstairs, and she heard it. So I go look for it, and it's this little screw that fell out of an air conditioning vent. That's the reasonable explanation for it. But it wasn't even that, because before that happened, and I don't get scared, but I was kind of in a tender, tired place, just watching TV, and I almost got scared because the stuff was moving. So it was glitching or something, almost like the dimensions were bleeding in. But have you had any of that happen?
Yes, I have actually. It's been very interesting. I've had things show up. I'm working with another light worker we're doing this kind of new grid system, a grid that we're creating, each individual's creating. And I have a technology, which I'll talk about a little bit, the frequency adjuster. And I made another one that actually is for the earth. And so I have it on my floor, and I stand near it, and I made a grid kind of around the floor, and I sat down right afterwards, and something like whoosh. I was like, what was that? And I could tell it was darker, and I did have a moment of feeling like really uncomfortable. And I said, nope, because I was like, nope, I'm not afraid. Because I have to tell you that I've been doing a lot of really deep clearing. And so when I do the clearing, I go, and when I talk about very deep, I mean, I go back lifetimes and so on and so on. And I could feel that there was still something that was blocking in my heart, and I didn't know what it was. And I was like, what is this? So I go into this heavy, deep meditation, and it took me all the way to and I knew it wasn't the very first lifetime here, because I knew that I had been at the time of Atlantis and Lemuria and so on. And, I think a lot of us that are here now, since this is a duality, there's no way that we haven't participated on both sides of this fence, so to speak, in the creation of this, we'll call the whole mess, and then what we're doing. And so we were the ones that a lot of us are masters or have been masters. There's a lot of the healers who are masters, and they kind of participated in this. And when I say that, it's because it's never been good or bad, right or wrong. It's just an experience. So we had an experience in the beginning. We participated in this probably to help create it. And then we realized that, what did we create? So we've been incarnating back, trying to sort of fix it and coming back to these children. And I realized that had been the process. So I went all the way to most likely sort of the first experience as a child, after knowing that I had been in Atlantis, whatever, or Lemuria. And what I experienced was I could see that I was in this, like it looked like a cage around my body. And the cage was like black, and you could see these geometric shapes, and they were very specific. They're pentagonal shapes, because pentagonal is a closed grid container. And I could see another one that was right at the center of my heart, and it was like around me. And I experienced it, and I saw a hybrid reptilian being in front of me. And I had this very awareness of this fear, energy. And what happened is that I suddenly realized that this energy that was around was matching the frequency of that reptilian. And it was like, I'm not afraid.
Yeah.
There's no fear. Because you realize that it was just this match. And suddenly this thing like kind of broke open and became this huge white light, and underneath this, and it was underground, and it's huge white light and this huge expansion, this shift, and this all like lifted out and became this amazing experience. And it's really like this feeling that I have now about like feeling like you're in love without being in love, because it freed you. But this is the kind of stuff that I think, that's a very, very deep level, and these are the things I'm seeing in clients. But this is the things that are going on with humanity about fear, and it depends on, where it's sitting. And I think some people it's sitting, like in my case, it was, at this very beginning was this kind of encasement, but it was still the same thing. It was just this frequency of fear, and it's showing up, of course, which is the basic bottom line of this 3D matrix, right? And it's showing up because this is in essence the frequency of this consciousness, and that they're wanting it to be elevated, and we've learned how to recreate this over and over again in our own head. So anyway, it was just a really interesting experience. I can't remember exactly why I shared that with you now, but it was really powerful, I think, in recognizing just sometimes where the depth is, where this is with people. And I think I know I share this is because I want everybody to know that, not to feel bad. Some people I've talked to, that like, oh, I keep trying and I don't know what's wrong with me and I can't seem to get this. And I can't. And it's like, well, sometimes it's just that we had so many lifetimes. And kind of the bottom line that I realized to that was that because I had come so many lifetimes attempting to correct sort of the mistake. I think this is what a lot of us have done, that in this particular lifetime, we made an agreement that said, we're not going to participate in that anymore.
Yeah.
And when we knew that before we came in, but we didn't understand what we meant. And so then we come here, and all we end up doing is saying, we're not going to participate in this 3D life. And this is why you have so many people that have had a lot of childhood traumas and all these kind of things going on in their energy, because they're still clearing that. But it's also why they haven't been able to create lives to where they want, because they made an agreement that they weren't going to participate in the 3D, but they didn't understand that what they meant was they weren't going to participate in the matrix and the fear, but they wanted to participate in the life. And that's what we're now waking up to through this clearing. We clear out that fear, then we go, now I know what I meant. How brilliant, right? Because we knew we were going to be here at this time, and we knew that after all these lifetimes, you couldn't correct it by interacting in it. No. And that's why I said in the beginning, you have to completely disengage. You have to make an agreement to disengage. It doesn't mean, though, you're disengaging from life. It just means that I'm not playing that fear game, anymore.
So here's a follow-up to that from my friend Anna. How do we change or alter the agreements?
Which agreements? What do you mean? Oh, do you mean the agreements of?
Well, I guess it would be like the programming, the unconscious programming.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of different things. I mean, I've had to sever contracts and agreements. You have to realize what it is. The main thing is to realize that it's not good or bad, right or wrong. And so sometimes, like I've severed agreements with myself and with other people through a forgiveness, where it's actually a forgiveness prayer. Forgive you, forgive me, love you, love me.
Yeah.
Gratitude for me, gratitude for you, compassion for me, compassion for you, because it's not I did anything wrong, or that kind of thing. And that's often where people get hung up, is that, like I said, if we were if we participated in any of this agenda, if you're coming from this good or bad, right or wrong place, you can feel bad about it. But if you just realize it's simply an experience, so we're not judging ourselves for whatever contracts or agreements we've made. And I mean, I've seen all kinds of things where individuals have contracts or agreements that they would be used as a guinea pig, or they would be, for all the different consciousness that are here, those types of things. And they just don't know that they've done it. And so it's just really important. I can't emphasize enough that neutrality. When you come from that place of neutral with no judgment, and if you can get there and you keep experiencing yourself, you'll feel whatever stuck is there. And if you begin to ask about it, you can usually get a story in relationship to it. In my case, that's why I kept doing it. I kept feeling, kept releasing, and I'm like, there's still something blocking my heart. Why am I not fully open? What is it? And that's when I was able to go there and realize this. But again, if I didn't do it with compassion for myself, then I would have been, in a whole different story. The thing is, once you do that, it's like this huge download happens. At least that's been my experience. Yeah. When you have that compassion, right? You get the download of what it all represents in the bigger picture. Yeah. Because there's no judgment. The judgment keeps it from showing up, right? Of what the whole story really is.
Yeah. It's not clear.
Exactly.
So this is right on line with the two. She follows up with how do we see what those agreements are, what that conditioning is? How do we see our blind spot? But I think like what you said about the neutrality thing, because a lot of people talk about it.
Yeah.
But it's one thing to say it and it's another to do it. And it's like, how do you get there? It's I guess at the core of it, it's different for everybody. But my point is, with that question, I hear what you have to say. But with that question, it's like that knowing you had. Why am I still feeling? Why am I not neutral? Yeah. Why am I in judgment? Why am I uncomfortable? So that you got to keep looking. I don't know.
Well, the reason, here's how you do it, is you have to have an absolute desire. Yes. I mean, that's the key. I mean, I truly have an absolute desire to really be happy and to really feel love and to really have connections. I mean, you have to get super honest with yourself. If you have that absolute desire, that's when your consciousness, which knows that, is going to keep sort of pushing these denser energies forward for you. It's exactly what Lori Ladd was saying about what's happening in the pushing as the consciousness is moving and it's pushing that density. It's the exact same thing that happens within you. And it happens through the desire, through that absolute desire is where you're really your pure I am consciousness stepping in and saying, here, I have this full desire to be absolutely embodied in this beautiful connectedness with earth and all. And, and that's that. I'm bringing it in. Can you feel that? It's like, like it's really coming forward because so that's what it is it's a true desire. Because people say they have a desire, but what they really have is to get out of wherever they are. It's not that they truly have a desire to expand their own, to really feel. It's more just take me away from this. Right? That's
right. And she said that too. I thought that was a great comment. She said people in pain seek external resolution, or gratification. So I think that the whole desire, I can totally resonate with that. My whole life.
Yeah.
I always knew anything I wanted, my desire, my balanced desire, would open the door. It would always open the door, even if it's 2 doors a day or 5 doors a day. But I agree with you. I think and I've been there. I'm gonna, as soon as I get to this house, or as soon as I get to this relationship, or as soon as I get this job, everything's gonna be okay. We all did that. And
absolutely.
Then that just went away. And we're
Well, and the problem with that too is that when we do that, we pacify sort of the level of frequency, and then that's it. And then what ends up happening is, see, that's a fear mechanism because, so say you're like in this horrible place or you feel like, oh my gosh, if I just have this job, I feel better. So you get the job, right? But what if it's just a job and then you start to not like the job at all? But now you're scared. See, that's the trigger. There's the fear mechanism. Now I'm scared to let that go because it's the only thing I have that makes me feel even just a little bit better. But the problem is that then you're saying that's all I have just to feel a little bit better. And that's it. That's where you're going to plateau.
Yeah.
And you're going to wonder why you're doing that. So.
Yeah, and then the other thing is you go into a situation. We're speaking past tense here, people.
Yes.
We're all moving out of this. But
Yes.
And that's you get it. You would get into a situation. You realize once you get in it and you're swimming in the shift that it's not what you thought it was. The grass is not always greener.
Exactly.
And then we hung in there and stayed in it because of pride, because of, my family's going to say this, or so, you know what I mean? I mean, so
that or fear that I can't have, it's the saying, I don't have a job. So now I have a job and now I think it's the only job, and that kind of mentality. Yeah. So, that's all the matrix.
Yeah, of course it is. Of course.
Yeah, we know that.
But like those thought patterns, those thoughts that would come in, like you were talking about earlier, that aren't ours.
Yeah.
But the loops that they were traveling in became deeper and deeper embedded. Yeah. And so, I mean, that's another thing too, I think, that I'm picking up on is, in myself and in seeing others, is that they don't have the impact they had. You might get some thoughts in. If you're really deep in it, like in a particular situation, you might be blind to it. But for the most part, I see people going, I know that. I've seen that before. I'm not going to take a breath this time. I'm not going to, just like the guy in the Walgreens. If that same situation happened to me again, it would be a totally different thing. I would just turn and walk away.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing. It's the same type of equation. Yeah. So.
Well, it's like that idea that I said to myself a long time ago. It's like, I'm never going to look for anybody to validate my failure or my misery again, and that, because that's often what happens, right? In those, we'll say in the past tense, and this idea is that when individuals end up unintentionally talking about, you get a thought in your head that creates a loop, and then what we didn't recognize is that became comfortable. That was your comfort zone, and you didn't realize that's your comfort zone. You say it's not your comfort zone, but it's clearly your comfort zone because you keep bringing it back. And it's not until you recognize, how is this serving you? Whether it's, and I had an example myself as well, where I would wake up in the morning and I kept feeling a failure, and I'd say, I don't want to do this. I really, really want to be success. Until I realized that, wait a minute, I say that, but the real truth is there's comfort in this failure because it's what I'm feeling. And once you do that, see, that's when I talk about the matching. That's when the frequency matched. And I suddenly went, oh, wait, there's comfort here. And I'm like, oh, no, I don't want that. And so that's that next level, right? Where we are now is when we really acknowledge, because you can't, what people are trying to do is they're going, no, I don't really want that. Try to shove it away, but they're in it. Yeah. They're not really acknowledging, what they're really feeling. And when they just can say, oh my gosh, yeah, I felt comfortable. And most likely you felt comfortable because you probably got people around you that are comfortable. That's why I said about validating your misery, is you've got a whole group of people that are in that same thing.
Oh, you mean like crabs in a bucket.
Yeah. So and that's like the whole, mass thing of where people feel more comfortable, right? Just
herd mentality.
Exactly. The herd mentality in that way. And that's, again, what this matrix has been doing is getting that mentality through more subtle things underneath where you didn't realize, like that feeling of feeling like a failure. And you're saying over and over again, I really don't want that, but you're in it. And until you realize that, yeah, this has been serving me in some way, there's some comfort in that with everyone. And once you can acknowledge that, then you can decide, oh, well, maybe I don't want that anymore. And the thing is it's not to then necessarily replace it. It's just to simply acknowledge it and stop it. That's that 0 point. That's that place of no judgment. Because at that point is when suddenly you breathe, your heart opens, and maybe you go, oh, wow, I really do like that, or whatever, and you'll,
or I don't.
Or I don't.
Or I don't like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's another thing too. Is like saying I don't want that.
Exactly.
I don't want to swim in those waters where in the past it would be like F that, and you have a charge. Yeah. You have a charge. And I remember a lot of my family stuff, I feel as I'm watching everybody, I guess I was fortunate because I did a lot of it early in the reawakening, 7, 8, 9, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago. But there was an evolution. And one of the things that came in early was, okay, they're not going to be in your life. I love them. I can't be here. And I was told, you've got to do your best to, when you separate, to separate it in a balance, as balanced state as possible in regard to the shared energy.
Yeah.
And I was very conscious of that. And like everything else, it has levels, but you can't carry it with you. I mean, we proved that.
Yeah.
We proved that. That's what the whole thing is. We're carrying stuff with us that, like the example of the thoughts.
Yeah.
We carry it with us. It becomes our reality. It becomes our belief system. So,
and through lifetimes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, I think when this is said and done, we're going to be like, wow, we really kicked some ass. We really, and I think this year, we're really doing a great job. And that's another thing I agree with her on, was at the more collective level, the Mother Earth level.
Yeah.
She hit 50%, 51%, and so on as the story was told. It's collective now. It's not stopping. It's
not stopping. Yeah, it's on a trajectory. It's going to happen. There's no question, for sure.
Which makes it a lot easier to deal with fear. Like we used to fear death, and fear, is there really a God? And and then now it's just, you're even obtaining neutrality about that.
Yeah.
How do you know? I don't know. I don't know anything. Other than I'm talking to you right now, and we're developing some type of synergy based on the last time and what appears to be aligning ahead of us. I mean, I can't tell you a whole lot. Yeah.
Well, interesting thing too about this whole, again, just fear of death just makes you not live your life. And I think that's what we're learning, isn't it? It's kind of funny, but it's like this whole wake up and this whole ascension is all about just what is really life. I say it's so exciting because we're just on the precipice of knowing really who we are, what our true capabilities, why we came here, this amazing earth. This planet has the largest range of emotional experiences of any other planet. That's why it's so intriguing to everyone, intriguing to us. And, but we've been narrowed down to fear and, survival and all these energies. And now it's like, wow, think about all these range of emotions that we get to experience.
It's huge. It's huge. It's the most dynamic playground of the universe. I mean, it's not. And I think that's another thing that's going to happen with this revealing, is we're gonna step into this not with a like a laborious gratitude, like, oh, I need to be thankful, I need to be in say mantras and affirmations. It's going to be more like an organic, wow, this is, I don't want to go, I want to stay, and really, which is kind of ironic, is that's what we want to do. That's what we can do. Yeah. Really. I mean, it's this merging of the higher self, if you want to call it that. And then I just keep saying, we're gods and goddesses in the flesh, and we're actually coming into this understanding that we can do anything here in this physical environment than we can do in dimension, and we don't have to physically die, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so you said that you had a new one. Did you have a new one? Because I mean, I don't know if everybody saw the last show that you were on.
I have the frequency the new one is just a template at the moment. It's going to be for the Earth template. I have I have the frequency adjuster here. This is the handheld one. And, I feel like that right now, when I first channeled this, and this is channeled from the Arcturians, I feel like it was before its time, but it feels like to me, particularly what's going on right now, this could be very helpful because everything we're talking about with this fourth dimensional energy, we'll say being able to come with inside the body, how it's doing it is when we have, cracks or holes or whatever we'll call it within what I refer to as the Earth template. And the template is the 0 point. It's when we come into that true 0 point. And that's what this does for you. This is basically you without an ego. And it's very specifically designed to bring your frequencies into a 0 point. So this gives you a focal point for where your energies are. When you're attuned to it, you'll be able to feel more about where your energy is, and it kind of gives you a placement to continue that process if you have that true desire to really feel whatever. And people ask questions like, how do I know and let go? Well, often the hard part is that we don't have any focal point to be able to have that sense of presence, because you don't realize everything is frequency, everything's information. So all the things in your room, everything, clothes, everything is information, and whatever frequencies that you've been aligning to, you're still aligning to them. And so it's very difficult to feel that. It's not impossible, but it's more difficult. And I think as the energies amplify, this is going to be very helpful for individuals to have. The other one that's just on a template is for the Earth template. Is it what this is creating in terms of this template in the body, right? So we as consciousness, as energy, have an unlimited ability to create within a kind of a container. It's when we come to the Earth, and the Earth is all about, right, creating 3D, creating something in physicality. So the first way we can do it is within this physical body. And that's why there's an unlimited opportunity within the physical body. The reason that we have similarities in other people is because, it's belief systems. But there's really kind of an unlimited, and it's unlimited when we are centered, like you said, when we're at that 0 point, we can truly experience our own body, and then we have the ability to feel what we have created and kind of decide what we want to create. The other ability is with the Earth itself, or one with the Earth, and kind of how that is through the grid system or another kind of template there as well.
Is it like the same shape, or is it a different?
I'll show you real quickly.
Yeah, very cool.
It's I'm showing a head. This is what this looks like.
Holy!
Can you see it?
So that's going to be a.
This is going to be if you can.
Is it going to be like a disc, or is it going to have some?
It's going to be. I lost you. I'm only on here.
No.
Oh, you just put me in there. I'm going to actually try to make it in a piece of jewelry, I think. So what it's representing is, this is the resonance frequencies of the Earth. So this is love, truth, beauty, and goodness, which are these are the authentic sort of base frequencies of the Earth itself. And when you're aligned with that, it allows for an infinite creative ability, and it really aligns you through your heart and so on. So so this is also a channel from the Arcturians. It's just another piece that I'm bringing in.
It's amazing what people are downloading.
I know, right? It's time.
Absolutely, and a lot of it, I know, like Morgan's process. She downloaded it 8 years ago. Mm-hmm. I mean, some of this stuff some of the women I've talked to pulled this stuff out years ago. It
Yeah.
just wasn't
Yeah,
time.
that was the thing. And I've had the frequency adjuster now. Well, I originally channeled it as a healing center, and that was like 1996, I think.
Wow.
But yeah, it was before its time. So you try to bring this stuff forward. And I was very naive. I was all excited at first, like, oh, this is so cool. And then people were like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly right. Well, that's
Right.
another thing too. Is like this thing with Sedona.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anna, I just want to tell you, Anna, I'll message you on that because we're gonna have to get out of here in a second.
Sure.
She asked a question earlier about
Sure.
something else, but like the thing with Sedona, right? Like I went over there in, I got called over there in 2018,
Yeah.
and so I spent like 6 weeks over there. But when I went over there, who was it? It was the Arcturians had come in. I was in Houston, and the Arcturians came in, and they told me all this stuff about 5D commerce,
Yeah.
and so then I got called to Sedona. They were there, and a lot of other stuff was there, and they told me we're going to amplify the Soulogy network. We're going to amplify the transmissions.
Love it.
So I went to this. I got called to this thing to do a ceremony, and I found this little device, this wire thing, and they said, pick it up. And I had to jump a fence to get it. And I put it on my computer and I would broadcast. My point is, I thought it was going to happen then.
Yeah.
Okay. And the crazy thing is, it's the same time of the year.
Oh,
It's the
of
same
course.
time Morgan and I went last year. It's the same time I went the year before that I'm describing to you. And I guess what I'm saying is that, the download comes in, the information comes in, and you think it's going to happen right then.
Yeah.
It is getting closer. It's getting,
Yeah.
faster, but like with your device and other things, it's
Yeah.
not the right time. There's still that linear construct that's still constructed. There's enough of a construct that it still plays a part in it. So
Yeah. Yeah, of course. And it has to be, well, I've been told a lot. It's like the consciousness has to catch up, because the Galactus have been trying to help us for a long time. But the consciousness is not, if it isn't there, it's not going to accept it. And I'm happy to say that we're accelerating so fast now that they're recognizing, we're all starting to recognize. And yes, there's some amazing things that are all coming forward. This is all part of this whole 5D that I was saying. I feel I have a whole template of a huge healing center design, everything that I came across. I wasn't the architect in this particular one, but it's a huge thing that at some point.
I think we're going to see some of that. We're going to see that type of stuff.
Absolutely.
So where can people find these things? Where can they find you? I know you're on Facebook.
Yeah, you can find me at CathleenaHailley.com. My website's not up yet, but it will take you to some information, and frequencyadjuster.com is also where you can find this one. The other one, I'm just, as you can see, it's just a drawing at the moment, so I'll see when I can.
Frequencyadjuster.com. Wow, you got that. To me, that's a good sign when you can get the .com.
Yes, I've had that for quite a while, so it's been there.
But even then, even when like Soulogy started in 2012, I went to go get. Not that I had a website, because I still don't. I mean, not that's public yet, but I went to go get Soulogy.com, and some Russian guy had it.
Yeah.
This was back in 2011, 2012. Yeah. And so I wrote him, and I said, hey, man, how much do you want for it? And he wrote back $1 million. I'm like, and so I wrote him back again, like the next year and the year after, and he kept telling me the same damn thing.
Yeah.
Strange. Then I got like this download. This was back when there was more opposing energies. We'll just put it that way, at least in my view. Mm-hmm. And I got this whole download of like he was countering what I was doing.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Well, I'm sure that it's going to be the perfect one for whatever you end up having. I mean, you're doing fantastic. I love what you're doing regardless. So.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, we did. I got it under soulogynetwork.com.
Oh, excellent.
We got like 6 or 8 other ones, but the .com is that's the only time.
That's the one. Yeah.
I couldn't get. I think we had a SoulegyOneStudios.com, but I can't remember. I had so many, and then I just,
I know I've got a bunch.
You know how it is. You get up, you get up, you do what you're told to do,
Yeah.
and all that other stuff just falls away. And you're right about the judgment thing too, because
Yeah.
there's a whole different level now. It's like even like with the whole thing with you were talking about at the top of the show with the reptilian consciousness
Mm-hmm.
and the experiences some of us have had.
Yeah.
Just with that, more of that information coming out, people like just say, because you know how fast information has moved this year, but like let's say next year at this time,
Yeah.
how many more people are going to have forgiven themselves because it wasn't even their deal?
Yeah.
Like how can you be held accountable for, you know, like not knowing?
Exactly.
You can't be, you know.
Well, and what I'm going to keep emphasizing too is that, remember, this is just all about the experience. It's not good or bad, right or wrong. You know, it's just an experience, and sometimes that's just what it is. So I think that's important. That without judgment, it's just an experience.
That's right. That's right on.
Yeah.
It's good seeing you. So you're going to go to Sedona. There's quite a few people going to be there. I know a couple of people that might have. Have you gone there much?
I've just been to that. There's a healing center there or something a couple times. I've been to, you know, just kind of in the. I don't even know what area that is. I haven't been around too much.
Well, we're gonna have 10 days of doing a 2-hour radio show from 12 to 2 Sedona time.
Yeah.
At my friend's place, which is right on the main strip in West Sedona. And then there's a conference the weekend of the 26th and an event on the 19th.
Yeah. What is the event? Well, maybe you can tell me afterwards or something. The event
on the 19th, I don't know.
Yeah. Not
well, I know it's going to be like like we usually do when we go.
Because that's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling the 19th, so that's what
it's from 4 to 9. It's at a yoga studio in West Sedona. I can't remember the name of it. I've been there several times. My friends do a sound bath there every Saturday, I think. But anyway, it's going to be from 4 to 9 on Saturday, and it's just going to be people, you know, stepping up. You know, people
showing up. Well, maybe I'll get some information. You know,
commentary. I'll get it to you. Commentary. You know, some probably light language. You know, maybe like something that you have. You know, presentation, music. Should be very good. I know it will because I've collaborated with them before, and they're the ones that have the building on the main street on West Sedona. And then the following weekend is being put on by Tolik, who's kind of
I met him. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like a Sedona fixture. So he's got he sent me pictures of it's going to be on a private piece of property, and so I'm going to go over there. I think I'm going to speak and do a little performing, and maybe some emceeing. And then cover it. We're going to film it. I'm going to take a crew over there, and we're going to put like 3 cameras on and film it for them. So, it should be exciting. I just feel like something's going to happen over there.
It's all, there's so much happening now and so much synergy. I mean, it's amazing. So,
Very
I'd love
cool.
to get more info.
Whenever you want to reach out, and I know I'm going to see you soon. I just feel
Absolutely.
it.
I love it.
I knew that last time we talked. The last time we did it, I just, we're going to run into each other. I thought it might be. All right. You take care.
You too. Thanks. Take care.
Love you. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody. See y'all. Michael Aberson's show is going to be on. His first show is going to be on in 22 minutes, and I'm going to be his first guest, which is kind of cool. It's called something Sacred Masculine Speaks or something like that is the name of his new show. So check it out.